Take everything you know about the NBA, throw it away. The NBA is going through a revolution, and the game has changed, and it's not how you think. Next on Locked On Jazz.
You are Locked On Jazz, your daily podcast on the Utah Jazz. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
How are you? I'm David Locke, radio voice of the Utah Jazz, Jazz NBA insider. This is Locked On Jazz, your daily podcast on the Utah Jazz. Give you insight, expertise, geeky numbers, and hopefully making it way better to be a Jazz fan each and every day. Thank you so much for making Locked On Jazz your first listen of the day. We are free and available on all podcasting apps as well as on YouTube. To the everydayers out there, you're the greatest. Thanks for being here each and every day as we come to you Monday through Friday. Here's the plan this week. Each day I'm going to take a look at a player at the 21st pick and a potential player at the 5th pick, and we'll probably have overriding NBA topics along the way. Plus, I'm going to dive into the rumors, baby. It's the big in thing to do right now. Everybody's making fake trades. Bleacher Report makes them. Sports Illustrated makes them like there's no big deal if you just can make them up, because if you get good click, it's all that matters. It's the world we live in, so we'll digest these various trade rumors that you're reading out there. I'm not going to hide from it. You're reading all of them, so we'll look at those as well each and every day. The players we're looking at today, Derik Queen out of Maryland. He's been bounced around the top 5. The mock drafts, various mock drafts are out. No ceilings had us taking him at 5. Danny Wolf, Michigan, we'll talk about him. He was floating around 21. I doubt after watching him there's any chance he gets to 21. And I also doubt after watching Queen there's any chance we take him at 5. But we'll break both those two players down. We're starting today with the fact that the NBA is not the NBA of your mom and dad or of what we thought we had. Frankly, it's not what I thought we had last week or 2 weeks ago or maybe 6 months ago. But if you think about the NBA, there have been some general mantras that we all believe, and they're not true anymore. Best player wins. Not sure that's true. Got to defend the rim first. Not sure that's true. Everyone's playing the same. That's certainly not true. Highest paid players win. That doesn't seem to be true. Biggest markets win. Indiana, Minnesota, Oklahoma City. That doesn't seem to be true. So what is true in the NBA right now, and what's going on? You really, honestly, when we look at what's going on, there are some headliners here, the Final Four. There's no question market size is a massive headliner here. Indiana, Oklahoma City, Minnesota. Minnesota is a decent market size, just one of the most unappealing places to live in the winter. Zero free agency. As free agency has died, small market teams seem to be able to do what they want to do. The second one, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's top 10 player. Ant probably is, and Brunson's getting there. They're all guards. Anthony Edwards, Jalen Brunson, Tyrese Halliburton, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, the 4 best players left in the playoffs, are all primary ball handling guards. The league has become a primary ball handling guard league. But there's something fundamentally that has changed on how you build your roster and fundamentally changed on what wins. Let's start with the money game. Indiana, New York, and Minnesota. Their top 2 players, all 3 of those teams, putting Oklahoma City by side for a second, combined to make $85 million. That's actually the number. All 3 of them. In contrast, Boston was at 84 this year, so they probably, without injuries and some other things, maybe or not, but they were right there. Denver was at 87. Golden State was at 103. The Lakers were at 91. Milwaukee was at 97. The 76ers are at 100, and Phoenix was at 101. And these teams are all at 85. What you do with your top 3, it's the Oklahoma City Thunder are interesting because they're just so young, they're at 65. But there might be something said to that, right? That The Lakers at 91 and Milwaukee at 97 and Philadelphia at $100 million spent between their top two players, and Phoenix at 101 and Golden State at 103 might be too much. Indiana's top three players, as Miles Turner's is still only making $19 million right now, is at 103. The Knicks is at 109, and Minnesota's is high at 118. It's actually less than it was because here's what's interesting about Minnesota here. Minnesota traded Karl Anthony Towns, who was making $49 million, to go get Julius Randle and Dante DiVincenzo, and that took their top number from 92 to 85, and that might have been the difference between them winning and losing this year. Because they got 55 minutes out of that deal. DiVincenzo and Randle are combining to play 55 to 60 minutes a night. Whereas Towns was playing 34 for $49 million. The other thing it did was take their top three number is still really high at 118, but it was 135. You can have no depth at 135. Indiana's top three players make 103. The Knicks' top three players make 109. Minnesota's top three players make 118. Let's contrast that around the league. Boston was at 104. They won a championship that way. Jaylen Brown's contract doesn't kick in until next year. But Denver was at 122 and ran out of players. Golden State was at 127, ran out of players. Lakers was at just 108. Milwaukee was at 121. Philadelphia was 135 million in their top three players. And Phoenix is 150, one of the most grandiose missed roster builds of all time. There's something to this. This 84, 85 million for your top one or two players, 110 range for your top three players, and enough depth to carry you through the playoffs. That's very different than how we used to play this game. Okay. Let's get to the next part of it. We have these dynamic guards. All these teams, by the way, are kind of dynamic guards with really good rim protection. Mitchell Robinson, Isaiah Hartenstein, Rudy Gobert, Miles Turner. There's a little bit to that. With secondary, really good athletes floating around to help. But let's start with some very common threads on these teams. Do you have to make the three or shoot the three? These teams, for the year, are Oklahoma City was 17th in three-point attempts. Minnesota, 6th most in three-point attempts. Indiana, 20th most in three-point attempts. New York, 27th. So we have one team in the bottom 10, two teams in the middle 10, and one team in the top 10. There is no thread here that says you have to shoot threes. Well, you certainly have to make them, right? Well, maybe Minnesota's 6th, Oklahoma City's 4th, Indiana's 9th, New York is 8th. All right. Yes, you got to make them. All four of these teams are top 10 three-point percentage teams. Defense wins championships. Not so certain. Oklahoma City, best defense we've seen in years. Minnesota, 6th best. New York, 12th. Indiana, 13th. Okay, you got to be above average. No kidding. Offensively, Oklahoma City, 2nd. New York, 5th. Minnesota, 8th. Indiana, 10th. Maybe you go here. You got to be able to shoot. Oklahoma City, 4th. Indiana, 6th. New York, 9th. But then good old Minnesota's 12th. Indiana doesn't offensive rebound. They're 29th in the league in offensive rebounding. New York doesn't really go to the free throw line. They're 19th in the league going to the free throw line. Minnesota turns it over too much. They're 18th in the league. Will probably cost them against Oklahoma City. OKC doesn't offensive rebound. They're 19th. They don't go to the line. They're 23rd. Oklahoma City fouls a lot defensively, and they don't defensive rebound. Indiana doesn't defend the shot great, and they don't defensive rebound above average. New York doesn't defend the shot great. They're 22nd in the league in shot defense. Minnesota, the one defense in the league, top 10, top 15 in all four factors. It's interesting. There's a real fundamental change going on here in the league. You used to have, I always said you have to have a top 10, a top 20, and a top 50. Okay, Shea's top 10. Ant's top 10. Brunson might be top 10. Halliburton's never been thought of as top 10. In fact, Indiana's got Halliburton. Siakam was probably not even a top 20, and I don't think they have a third top 50. Minnesota's got a top 10 in Ant. Gobert, I think, is top 50, but they don't have a top 20. They have depth. And Randall. And then McDaniels and DiVincenzo and Conley. And they have 8 guys that are really good. Oklahoma City's going to get them, but they got 8 guys that are really good. New York's got Brunson, who's probably 10th now. Towns, who's close. OG Anunoby and Miles Bridges are probably right on the borderline of top 50. They probably still fit. Shea's top 10. Jalen Williams is not top 20 yet. Chet Holmgren's top 50. They're getting close. And if you look at, there's more to this. I can keep going. It's fascinating. Okay. Well, you've probably got to deny the 3 then defensively. No, Oklahoma City pretty much lets you shoot the 3. Oklahoma City is 28th in the league at denying the 3. New York is 6th. Minnesota is 7th. Indiana's 5th. New York is 6th. Minnesota is 7th. That fits a little bit. But they deny the 3. Oklahoma City doesn't. Well, you probably deny the rim. No, Oklahoma City's 7th at denying the rim. Indiana's 22nd at denying the rim. New York's 24th at denying the rim. Minnesota's 16th at denying the rim. You might want to make a miss when they get to the rim. Oklahoma City's the best at that. Minnesota's the 3rd best. Indiana's the 8th best. And New York was the 15th best. There is not a common thread to how people are playing here. The only one I would point out is that Oklahoma City and Minnesota are the number 1 and 2 half-court defenses in the NBA. But there's not a model anymore. In fact, it's not go get the best players. It's not pay the top players anymore. And there's not one style of play anymore. It's pretty different. The game has changed. Get rid of your old thoughts. We'll look at the latest mock drafts, and we'll look at Derik Queen out of Maryland and Danny Wolf out of Michigan. I like them in reverse order. Next on Locked on Jazz. Monday edition of Locked on Jazz is brought to you by Murdoch Chevy, located in Woods Cross and in Logan. The Murdochs have been in Utah for over 80 years, bringing you the no regrets experience. And the Chevy truck, the Chevy truck is Americana. So you've got Utah and the Murdochs. You've got Americana and Chevy. You've got a perfect combination. The Silverado and the Colorado bring you everything you need. The Silverado's the bigger truck. It's the King Poobah. It's making you feel like you're riding above the world. The Colorado's the fun, zippy truck that's going on everywhere, giving you what you need, giving you a little zest. And the great lineup of SUVs is, with the Suburban and the Tahoe. They're all at Murdoch Chevy right now. Stop by in Woods Cross or in Logan. If you're going to stop by, email me first at dlock09@gmail.com. That's dlock09@gmail.com so that we can give you that VIP experience that you deserve over at Murdoch Chevy. Today's show is also brought to you by Monarch Money. If you ever looked at your bank account and wondered where did all the money go between dining out, online shopping, entertainment, golf fees, ski fees, it's easy to lose track. Mountain biking shoes, road biking shoes. There is where Monarch Money comes in. It's your personal CFO giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, spending in one place. So you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. It gives you surprising insights and insight on where you're spending. Sometimes good. Frankly, we've used Monarch Money, and it's made me relax a little bit about what we're doing. It all kind of makes sense rather than worrying about where we are overspending. Instead of juggling multiple apps, Monarch Money also lets you check your finances, track your spending, and long-term goals. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA at monarchmoney.com and get 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNBA for half off your first year. It is snowing outside right now. It is May 19th, and it is snowing outside right now. I love the snow. This is a bit much. All right, let's talk about some NBA players. This is what we're doing. We'll kind of keep track of mock drafts. We'll look at rumors. We'll keep you up to date on everything. And do that. All right, here are the latest mock drafts. ESPN's come out with their latest. They have us looking at Jeremiah Fears in the 5th pick. I have this thing broken down to Ace Bailey, VJ Edgecombe, and Trey Johnson. They're throwing Jeremiah Fears in. I'll watch Jeremiah Fears today to figure out whether or not I think that's the Ringer has us still taking Con Knippel. We'll look at him on Wednesday to see whether he should be there. Leaf Tulane has the 5th pick of the draft as VJ Edgecombe. No ceilings as us taking Derik Queen, who we'll look at a second. CBS Sportsline's latest one has Ace Bailey sliding to us. NBA DraftNet has Con Knippel. Bleacher Report has Trey Johnson. Yahoo, Kevin O'Connor has Con Knippel. So we'll look at Jeremiah Fears tomorrow, Con Knippel on Wednesday. 21st pick of the draft. It is all over the place. Asa Newell out of Georgia is ESPN's. Liam McNelly is Virginia, is the Ringers. Leaf has Asa Newell there as well. Joan Behringer, center. I don't think that's exactly how you pronounce it for CBS. Auburn kid out of it for DraftNet. Bleacher Report is taking Will Riley. So does Yahoo. I liked Will Riley's a Canadian kid that I really liked, actually. All right, let's start with Derik Queen. Queen played at Maryland. He is being talked about as a top 10 pick. He grew up in Baltimore, Maryland. His mother played at Towson State. He then left Baltimore to go to Modern Day Academy in Florida, which is kind of a well-known program. He did that at 16. He averaged 17 points, 9 rebounds, 2 assists, a block, and a steal. He shot 53% from the field, 76.6 from the free throw line, was the Big Ten Freshman of the Year this year. Hit big-time buzzer beater against Colorado State to propel Maryland to Sweet 16. And let's take a look quickly at his numbers, the Locked On exclusive numbers that we look at on players on Queen. So you have, and then his measurements for the draft combine for Queen were 6'9" and a quarter, 245 pounds, 7-foot reach, 7-foot wingspan, 9'1" standing reach, 23.5 no step vertical, which is not good, and a 28-inch vertical, which is really not good. Here's what's interesting. Both Queen and Wolf play the game the same way as Kyle Filipowski. This really gets into a little bit of whether you draft either of these guys or whether you think they're better than Kyle Filipowski. Queen is 20 years old already, having graduated as a freshman. My daughter's 20 years old and is a sophomore. He's 6'10" and a year older than everyone. So that's my first red flag on him. 67% transition percentile, isolation, 28th percentile, not good. As a roll man, was rolled 118 times, but only had 46th percentile. His shooting was the 62nd percentile. His catch and shoot was in the 25th percentile, which is concerning. He was 14 to 42. And he is off the bounce. Shooting is in the 12th percentile. Jazz aren't taking Derik Queen at 5. I'd be stunned. I'll be honest. I get where people like a little bit of him. And understand something here. When I watch players, I don't usually like them as NBA players for 2 reasons. One, out of respect for which I watch every day. I think the biggest mistake that happens in the draft circles is a bunch of college people watch college players, fall in love with them, think they're great, and have no understanding of how hard the NBA is. I watch no college basketball. I watch just the NBA. I understand that I watch the 450 greatest players in the world. The top 300 are incredible. The top 100 are mind-blowingly brilliant. And these guys are trying to play with them, and most of them can't. Most of them can't. And that is the premise by which I watch players. I'm concerned on Derik Queen. He's going to be a top 10 pick, and he might not make it. And that's not a cut on Derik Queen. That's a tribute to the NBA talent. I wonder about his foot speed. He has great explosion for his size on his first dribble. It's pretty awesome. For his size at 6'9", 248 pounds, to put it on the deck and be able to beat guys the way he does is pretty impressive. but it's not like he's elevating a ton. And in the NBA, every single one of those guys he's doing against are faster, bigger, stronger. And I don't know that he's getting the same shooting window he gets in college. This might be unfair. But I'm watching, critical eye. I can be wrong. I've been wrong plenty of times. I was wrong on CJ McCollum. He tells me every time I see him. He doesn't do anything fast. He doesn't do anything at NBA speed. He wanders up at best to set a pick in the high pick and roll. There's lots of walking that goes on with him. I thought he played defense late. Grant Hill on the broadcast thought he played defense early. Grant Hill probably knows the game better than me. But Danny Wolf, I watched Michigan, Maryland. Danny Wolf killed him in the post because he was too late defensively a bunch of times. He has a soft touch around 15 feet. He has a great first step for a guy that size. So he's catching, can conduct a little play. Doesn't look super, not as comfortable as some others. Like they're calling him Baby Jokic. No, not true. Maybe a little Draymond-esque a little bit, but not really that incredible vision. And he puts it on the deck. He's pretty dang quick. He hits a 15-foot jumper a few times. Defensively, Danny Wolf at Michigan got the best of him. Here's what's interesting. Wolf is 7 feet. All right, measured at 6'10" without shoes. Queen is 6'9" without shoes. Filipowski was about the same. So here's your comp on Kyle. So vertical jump between Danny Wolf, Kyle Filipowski, and Derik Queen. Filipowski's at 27 inches non-vertical jump, no step. Wolf is at 24 and McQueen's at 23.5. Vertical jump with a step. Kyle Filipowski's at 32.5. Danny Wolf's at 30. And Derik Queen's at 28. Kyle's way better vertical. The shuffle, the lane agility test. Danny Wolf's at 11.2. Kyle Filipowski's at 11.4. And Derik Queen's at 12.5. Big difference. Shuttle run. Kyle and Danny Wolf were at 2.9. Derik Queen's at 3.3. And three-quarter court, Kyle Filipowski's at 3.2. And Danny Wolf's at 3.5. And Derik Queen's at 3.5. Kyle Filipowski is the better athlete of these three players, at least according to testing. Danny Wolf is 6'10", with a 7'2" reach. Filipowski was 6'10" with a 6'10" reach or wingspan, which is a problem. That 4 inches is a problem. And Danny Wolf is 6'10" with a 7'2" reach. Derik Queen's at a 7.5. Both Danny Wolf and Derik Queen have a 9-foot 1 inch standing reach. Kyle's at 8'11". The one that's crazy is that Danny Wolf weighs 251 pounds and Derik Queen weighs 248. You would never guess that. But if I'm picking between Danny Wolf and Derik Queen, I'm taking Danny Wolf, and I'll explain that next on Locked on Jazz. Thanks so much for tuning in to Locked on Jazz today. Locked on NBA Big Board's got all the draft news for you each and every day. We try to have it all for you. Locked on Sports Today gives you the whole recap of the sports day. I listen to it every morning. And Locked on NBA twice a day, 2 different episodes. If you have not caught the Doug Branson, Matt Moore, Hayes show, it's pretty great. It's daily, 30 minutes, good analysis, super personalities, pretty great. All right. I really like Danny Wolf. He really reminds me of Kyle Filipowski. Little quick rundown on Danny Wolf. Born in Illinois. His 2 older brothers played, one at Lehigh, one at Washington U, which is a super intellectual school. He holds American Israeli citizenship, went to Jewish school until 5th grade. So had his bar mitzvah on the Western Wall in Jerusalem. It's a little bit of a different upbringing. His freshman year, he went to Yale. His sophomore year, he went to Yale. And his junior year, he went to Michigan. So he's older. So a little bit of an interesting kind of very intellectual, like Lehigh, Washington U, and Yale are the three schools that his family went to. Those are pretty bright. That's a pretty bright kid. He measured, as we talked about, very well at the combine. They actually have his stand. I said his 7'2" and a quarter is his wingspan. This guy plays with the ball in his hands. This guy plays comfortably with the ball in his hands like Kyle Filipowski. He's 7 feet, and that's his game. His transition Locke numbers, his transition percentile was in the 22 percentile, saying he's a non-athlete. That jives a little bit. He ran 129 pick and rolls as a 7-footer. Pretty interesting. And was on the roll 33% of the time. He's in the 47th percentile in pick and roll, 35% on roll man, not that good a roll man. Spot up shooting 67th percentile, catch and shoot 54th percentile, and then here's the one that really catches your eye. His jumper off the bounce was in the 81st percentile. If you're just comparing him to Kyle, they're very similar. I could not tell whether Danny Wolf could play any defense at all. He didn't really get exposed in the Maryland game. My instinct is probably not. The one time he got isolated, he looked really uncomfortable sliding. I think he's very, very similar to Kyle. I'm not sure he's as brilliant a passer as Kyle. Kyle is an unbelievable passer. I'm kind of guessing that over time, Danny Wolf will be a better shooter than Kyle Filipowski. I still have, I think, some real concerns on the shooting numbers on Kyle, but frankly, Wolf's free throw shooting last year was 59%, which is the exact same concern on Kyle. So I'm not sure that's actually that fair an analysis. The thing that bothers me about Wolf is he's a reluctant three-point shooter on the college level. He does not get it off quickly. Kyle's adjustments he's made in the first year make him a superior player. This is interesting. Last year's draft was terrible. Terrible. Kyle Filipowski was the 32nd pick of the NBA draft last year. I think he's a better player than Danny Wolf, who is going to be somewhere between 17 and 23 in this year's draft. It's a real find by the Jazz last year. I really like Danny Wolf. He's going to be able to play. Though I find a lot of the same thoughts I have about him and Kyle. One is that you really kind of wish they could play the three and be a 7'3" playing with the ball, conducting, but I think there's zero chance that either of them could ever defend for 1 minute at the three. I do think both of them could head out of the league really fast. If they can't really shoot it, they're both out of the league. Because neither of them can defend well enough to stay on the floor that if they're not punishing someone offensively with their skill set, then they become hard to play. Out of the league's probably a stretch, but non-rotation player. Wolf is stunningly comfortable with the ball. And he thrashed Derik Queen in the post. Bumped, backed, faked in middle, little hook shot over him from 5 feet, bump, back, drop, stepped him for a layup. He hammered Derik Queen. Left-hand drive, he got blocked on the way, but he can left-hand and right-hand drive, both at 7 feet tall. He doesn't need the spin move that Kyle uses. He's very strong with both hands, but he is certainly on the ground. I think he'll be able to rebound, but not the way Kyle rebounded this year. There's no elevation in his game, and I think he's a reluctant three-point shooter. So I think these two are really interesting. But what I think's most interesting about them, two things. If I had to draft Danny Wolf or Derik Queen, I'm drafting Danny Wolf over Derik Queen. Okay? I could be very wrong on this. Just these are my thoughts. I'm not trying to be an expert, and I certainly wouldn't want you to do this with your front office if you're your favorite team. I'm just sharing, watching one game, Maryland versus Michigan, and I'll watch more if I get time. But maybe not, because I don't think we're going to draft either of these players. I would draft Danny Wolf over Derik Queen. Second thing is I would take Kyle Filipowski over both of them. It's interesting. On a draft that's way better, I think the Jazz got a player at 32. And with that said, I'm not 100% certain on Kyle Filipowski as an NBA rotation player. Defensively, I still don't know where he plays. And he's got to make shots. And that was a box of chocolates last year. I mean, this dude was literally either like Hershey bar, which I think is the worst chocolate in America, or Godiva for a stretch of time, or I have my Italian place that I ship because I'm me. Because everything's a little extra. But you got my point. He was the greatest chocolate in the world or the most mundane chocolate in the world on his shooting last year. So that's my take on Derik Queen and Danny Wolf. Tomorrow, we will look at Jeremiah Fears. And I don't know who our 21st pick player will be. It might have to do with if I get Oklahoma playing one of them to maximize time. We'll look at Con Knipple on Wednesday. Thursday and Friday, we'll probably go back to Trey Johnson, VJ Edgecombe, and really analyze them a little bit more. It is Locked On Jazz, your daily podcast in the Utah Jazz, taking you all the way to draft day with a lot of Leaf Tulane in the middle here. Thank you so much for tuning in and being a part of the show. 5-star reviews are greatly appreciated. Thumbs up, comments in the YouTube comment section about the show or on Spotify. Please do if you've not subscribed. Love it if you would do that. And on YouTube, hit the bell button. Thanks so much. I'm on all the socials at DLock09 if you'd like to follow me. We now send you the first ever 24/7 national NBA channel, Locked on NBA Plus. Check out Locked on NBA audio with Doug, Matt, and Hayes.